We're talking a little trade drama news in relation to the NFL draft. The Indianapolis Colts are apparently looking to trade up. Could the New York Jets be a trade down options? I got 3 potential trade downs as well as a player I would take with the 15th overall pick.
Jets, Jets!
All right, guys, welcome in. This came out a few days ago, finally having a little bit of time to make a video, but I want to give you my thoughts on the rumors of the Indianapolis Colts coming up from number 15 to come up and draft Brock Bowers. Something interesting here. This is coming from A to Z Sports. Let's take a look at the article. I want to give you guys my thoughts on the 3 potential trade options that I think could happen with the New York Jets, what I think will actually happen with the Indianapolis Colts, and give you 2 players that I would potentially take with the number 15 overall pick. So this is coming by way of A to Z Sports. The Colts, currently situated with the number 15th overall pick, have been rumored as a potential trade-up team for months. Initially, it was speculated the Colts would move up for Washington wide receiver Rome Odunze after they met at the Combine. However, recent reports indicate that they have their eyes on another offensive player. A source close to Georgia told A to Z Sports that they are looking to trade up for tight end Brock Bowers. Bowers is considered a generational prospect at tight end, and would be an excellent addition to a Colts offensive core. The Colts met with Bowers at the Combine, and he is a common selection in mock drafts when he's still available at their pick. Bowers is currently the overwhelming favorite to be selected by the Jets at the 10th overall pick. Douglas will need to decide between Bowers and moving back 5 spots to add a day 2 pick. So what would a potential Jets-Colts trade look like? So now that we've got that little bit of a gist here, the Colts trading up to number 10. Now, we're going to take a look at this from a points perspective. You guys know the trade value chart. Everyone talks about it. Every pick is assigned a point value, and roughly speaking, you want to try and get equal value or slightly better value when you wind up making a trade. And obviously, positional flexibility matters. So like if the team that's coming down really wants to trade down, they may not get the most amount of compensation. Likewise, on the other side, if a team's trying to come up for a quarterback, you may have to pay a heavy premium well above your draft pick point value. Now, the Jets' 10th overall pick is slated to be worth 1,300 points, whereas the Colts' 15th overall pick is worth 1,050 points. So the Jets trading down that far would need to make up 250 points worth of draft picks to make this worth it. And I'm going to try and operate within this year of draft picks. You can kind of speculate future picks if you want, because a first-round pick in this year's draft, first-round pick in next year's draft is equivalent to like the first pick in the second round of this year's draft, and it gets a little funky. We're going to operate this as if it's just this one year, because Douglas and Salah may only have this one year. I don't think the future picks necessarily matter to them, so I think it's going to be a little bit more important that they try to facilitate this. So the first trade we're going to take a look at, and you know what? I'm going to frame this 3 different ways. It's going to be one that's a little more favored towards the Jets, one that's a little more favored towards the Colts, and one that's probably a little bit more even across the board. So the first trade we can talk about is the Jets only giving up the number 10 pick and getting as many picks as possible to make it equal across the board to that 1,300 point number. This would have the Jets getting 82 overall. That's a 3rd round pick, 117, a 4th round pick, and 191, which I believe is a 6th round pick, if I remember correctly. So the Jets would then have 15 overall. They would have 2/3, 3/4, a 5th, 2/6, and then 2/7. So that's a pretty solid trade. Now, I will admit this is the one I would prefer to take if I was given the option. Now, I don't think the Colts would necessarily want to do this because they are giving up 4 draft picks. And even though those picks later on in the draft aren't worth as much, you start to see a lot more trades happening with teams because they value the contractual control of players for 4 years. That cheap contract helps you keep your salary cap in check and allows you to pay premier players like a Jonathan Taylor or like, a Michael Pittman Jr. a lot of money. So if you're paying them a lot, you want to recoup some of that salary with cheap rookie contracts. So I don't think the Colts would necessarily be in on this trade, even though the Jets would probably like it. The second trade, this one's a little bit more in favor of the Colts because they don't have to give up quite as much, I think. And that would be the Jets getting their 3rd round pick and 4th round pick. So again, you're only losing that 15-point value. where, I don't think it's really that crazy. That's if the Jets lost 10 points because they want to move back, this is a fine trade down for me as well. And look, 2 third-round picks and 3 fourth-round picks, you have plenty of ammo to go up and get into the second round. Now, the third trade that is a little bit more even, but maybe a few more working pieces here, and this is the Jets getting a second-round pick from the Indianapolis Colts, pick 46 overall, but you have to send back pick 72, so you don't have a third-round pick anymore, but you wind up having 3 fourth-round picks. You'd have 111, 117, and 134, and if you really want the impact player that you think is going to help your team this year, I think you can look at the first and second round as players most likely to get you that level of play. You're getting someone that can impact your team immediately, where you start to, third round and beyond, it does get a little less likely they're going to have an immediate impact on the team. And this would be the Jets getting a plus 20 point swing here. So really, I guess this is technically the Jets' best option, but it's just, one less pick. I really like this option. I really do. Now, as far as like these trades go and how I feel this could potentially unfold and which players would I take with the 15th overall pick, if I were to make a trade and go down to 15, I think the first player I'd really strongly consider is Troy Fautanu, the tackle guard hybrid out of Washington. He provides so much flexibility for both Tyron Smith and AVT that you're feeling really confident going into the year, and your offensive line isn't quite so dire. Now, I will admit, I do think that McGovern is probably coming back. I think there's an off chance you wind up bringing in a Bakhtiari or someone along those lines after the draft, but Fautanu provides you the insurance for this year while also giving you the benefit of the next 5 years of offensive line stability. This is basically the AVT pick of this particular draft. You got Tyron Smith on a 1-year deal. You got Morgan Moses on a 1-year deal. Maybe you retain one of those players and Fautanu fills in the other spot next year. So I really do like him. The other option for me would be Brian Thomas Jr. I really like him. Everyone's talking about Malik Nabers out of LSU at the top of the draft being potentially wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2, runs a 4.3. Well, guess what? Brian Thomas did the same thing at 6'3". So from a height perspective and like the potential perspective from Brian Thomas Jr., I do really like him at pick number 15. I think when you look at what the Jets need in a wide receiver, they're kind of missing that bigger body. Like, yes, we have Mike Williams, but I think there's a scenario where you can see Mike Williams and Brian Thomas Jr. on the outside, and then you put Garrett Wilson in the slot and you just give him free releases all the time. I really like that. Brian Thomas Jr. only has a 1-year kind of pop, and it was all like, is it just a 1-year wonder type of perspective? I think he is trending in the right direction, so I'd be pretty pumped if the Jets made either one of these selections. Now, as far as do I think this is something that is likely to happen, and I will say I do not. Unfortunately, I don't think the Jets are going to be the team that would trade down with the Colts. Not because the Jets don't want to trade down. I think the Jets will. But I think the Bears are going to be a better trade partner at number 9. And that would get me really excited, because if the Colts are coming up to get Brock Bowers, trading with the Bears makes a lot of sense. The Bears only have 4 picks in this draft. They have number 1 and number 9, which everyone's been talking about, but then they only have pick 75 and pick 122. So if there's a situation where the Colts can move 1 pick in front of the Jets, because who knows, maybe there's teams that the Jets right now are the favorites to get Brock Bowers. So the thought process is either, hey, you have to convince the Jets not to take Bowers to fall back, or a team that may be willing to trade back to get any number of picks in the Bears, who already made their premier selection at number 1 overall in Caleb Williams. I think that's more likely. And to me, this is actually my preferred route. I do want the Bears to trade out, and I do want the Colts to come up and get Brock Bowers, because that means I get number 1 on my big board, which is Rome Odunze. I very much want Rome Odunze, and that's not to say I don't want Brock Bowers. Bowers is number 2, so if Odunze's not there, it's Bowers for me. But I think when I'm looking at the top part of this draft, and if I'm a team willing to trade up, am I willing to try and pay a specific price to the Jets when I think there's a team in front of the Jets that could take either the same deal that the Jets currently want, or potentially a slightly lesser deal because they want to move back and accumulate picks? So I do think the Colts are probably going to, if there's going to be a trade up into the top 10, I think it's more likely that it's by way of the Bears than it is by way of the Jets, but who knows? I want to hear from you guys. What do you think of Brock Bowers? What do you think about the Jets trading down to 15? What do you think about the Jets possibly sitting at 10 and the Colts coming up in front of the Jets? How does that impact what the Jets may do at number 10? I'm so excited to see how this all unfolds because there's just so much speculation with what the Bears are going to do at number 9 and how that could impact the way the Jets pick at number 10. If you guys want to be there with us at the main event on Long Island, tickets are going to be in the description down below. We got a few more days of that left. I believe it's Tuesday. Tuesday is going to be our last day of ticket sales. So if you want to get in on that with us, we're going to have the crowd cam, 3-hour open bar, buffet, all the good stuff. The crowd cam is going to be nice because usually it's just myself, O'Leary, and Green Bean that get caught with our pants down when the draft pick is made and you're seeing our raw emotion in the moment. Well, guess what? You guys wind up getting it as well. So we're not going to be alone on this one. We're really excited for it. So tickets in the description down below. And as always, go Thank you guys Jets. So much for hitting the like and subscribe button on these videos. It goes a long way towards growing the channel. And then occasionally I get sponsors like this. So if you want to help support the sponsor of the channel or maybe just get yourself some cool gear or some good discounts, you can click the link in the description down below. Today's sponsor, 𝐶𝐿, is going to give you 25% off your order using promo code JetsTalk. Link in the description down below. They've got gummies, THC syrup, THC seltzers. I just discovered these things. They are incredible. As someone who has been trying to cut down a little bit of their alcohol consumption and not, maybe feel as crummy the next day, this has been a godsend for me. Keep me nice and calm, cool, and collected, especially with all the hurdles that our Jets throw our way and all the headaches that we got to deal with as fans. So if you guys want to help support the channel, maybe get yourself a little bit of a discount as well. Support the sponsors of the channel, 𝐀𝐟𝐼𝐥𝐢. Thank you so much for watching the show.